Hi, my name is Maya and this is My Imagination. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm a singer-songwriter and this is one video of a series on a guided meditation based off of my song called Mirror. Today I want to focus on one affirmation prompt in the guided meditation video. See the description box below if you haven't already watched it or if you want to watch it again. Life's uncertainties hold the keys to unexpected beauty and growth. Today we're talking about embracing the unknown and finding wonder in unpredictability. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. In fact, in the first verse of Mirror is one of my favorite lines. It says, "We collide into the unknown, something like a kaleidoscope." We collide into the unknown, something like a kaleidoscope. Crashing into the unknown, it's exciting, it can be chaotic. Somehow the shards reassemble into this moving, shifting, beautiful patterns of color and light. Mirror sounds very soothing, very relaxed, but lyrically, it's a song of risk. Most of life is uncertain. Tomorrow is never promised, ever. We live in very uncertain times right now. The world is chaotic. So much is going on at a rapid pace that I've never experienced before in my life. Uncertainty in and of itself, it is a natural part of life, but in media, in culture, it's weaponized to get people to shrink back as something to fear and avoid. I think that there is a beauty exclusive to process that we miss out on all of the time. And when uncertainty kind of punctures or pokes holes in the perfect plans that we make in our lives, that's when we have this opportunity, the invitation. It's a doorway or a gate that pulls out your full potential in a way that a very planned, calculated life could never do. I was talking to a friend the other day about Impressionism. Impressionism is probably my favorite era of painting, Manet, Monet, the works. I've always loved this idea of using flecks of color to imitate light and movement. It doesn't feel stoic or frozen. There's a cadence and a flow on the canvas. And my friend said to me, "Did you know that Impressionism was actually a response to the invention of the camera?" And we had this conversation about AI. A lot of artists, a lot of musicians, including myself, has been wondering about, how will AI kind of change the landscape for creatives that could potentially be at the risk of being replaced by machines. However, there's also this sliver of hope. Sometimes I call it a joyful defiance, where human beings rise up to the occasion in this challenge and say, we're not slaves to the things that we create. While AI does pose an uncertainty about the future of the arts, AI is also presenting us with a door that leads to creativity, a door that leads to a different way of presenting, communicating, expressing ourselves creatively that we've never had the opportunity to do before it. And I think that when we're faced with the challenge or a threat, we have a choice. We can choose to either respond out of fear, or we can take a leap of faith and challenge ourselves to think differently. The camera became an art form. We have got photography, we have film. There's this whole other avenue for a new category of creative people to rise up out of. And then those that are existing at the time, like the Impressionist painters, were now forced to reconnect with their art, represent their art, and create in a different way. The camera changed the way painting was done for many people. I think right now we're being faced with a very similar scenario. Yes, there is AI that can create music with just a simple prompt on ChatGPT, but there is a way of thinking that we haven't tapped into yet, really poke and prod us into a new direction, or it propels us and pushes us forward and allow for this sense of play and discovery to birth new things. So I think that AI could actually be very, very very good for us because there's a lot more consumption happening than there is creating. I know that I've been one of them. Even just creating these videos is a byproduct of noticing that I want to repurpose how I spend my time. I don't want to just absorb what's being put at me on social media. If you're human, you have the capacity to create. You have the ability to express in these beautiful ways. I think that overconsumption can really numb our awareness or numb that part within us. It really leads us to believe a lie that it's more fulfilling to just be an observer than to be an agent, take action, and live. I'm actually hopeful for the type of music and art that could come out of this age of AI. I just hope that people really believe in themselves. I'm challenged to believe in myself, take a chance, change the way that I write, the way that I think about melody and rhythm and these different things, and then like re-inject it into my music. It would be really cool to get connected with an orchestra, other global musicians that play, you know, from bagpipes to the tabla to the taiko drums. I'm like, taiko drums to the djembe. There's so much possibility. And possibility, I think, just, it's exhilarating. It can fill us with hope. I think fear shuts down creativity, and fear bottles people up and cages people in. I feel like we're on the cusp of an arts renaissance or an arts revival, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I think that if I only responded to AI and even uncertainty in general as something to fear, as something to avoid, to try and keep myself safe. I think safety is a very subjective word because sometimes being safe can very well be dangerous. I think it's about perspective and choices. Yeah, I'm brought back to the kaleidoscope. We can look at collision as pain, injury, metal, but like a kaleidoscope to me looks like moving stained glass. You know what I mean? We're in control, both in what we're looking at and then turning that kaleidoscope. I think the ability to turn a kaleidoscope could be a metaphor for our perspective. We can shift and change the way that we look at these little pieces of glass. I think that the way that we approach uncertainty can shape our quality of living. My hope for you today is that wherever you are and whatever you're going through, that you can see that there's still enough time for you to have a great day, a day that's full of joy, peace, gratitude, and clarity. My deepest desire for you is that you know that your decisions, how you choose to see your life or see this present circumstance and how you see the future, it is a form of power over the circumstance in and of itself. You're not a victim, and you are not stuck. I think that you might actually be in the perfect storm of discovery, of adventure, and potential and possibility. And I hope that you can see that there's more of life to live. Let me know in the comments what is really sticking out to you about some of the things that, you know, we've uncovered and talked about in this video. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. I'm glad you're here, and I encourage you to keep going. Have a good day. Hopefully we'll talk again sooner than later. Bye.